here we are, podcasting about Cody Rhodes walking out on the company that he helped build. Here we are. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
it's big news.
Yeah,
it's
well,
the
first thing, I guess he'd been doing weird promos for the last couple of weeks, right? He did one where he was alluding to the pipe bomb, CM Punk's pipe bomb, and Tony Khan not giving him a contract. But again, I thought that was a work. That was part of his heel turn, eventual heel turn, whatever this was leading up to. So when I heard it, first thing is like, oh, okay, it's a work.
Right.
This is, they're doing it now.
Still could be a work.
I don't know.
Still could be a work.
I feel like we'd know by now if it was a work.
Oof, but I mean, what if they want to go deep cut work? What if they want to go back circa Brian Pillman, who actually worked himself into a shoot? I've heard that term so many times, especially a lot of old timers, that they say, some people tend to work themselves into a shoot. And Brian Pillman worked himself into a shoot. He's like, this would be great for the angle. Let me go sign the contract and break me out of my contract, and I'll go to ECW, and then I'll pretend, and then I'll come back. And then he ended up was just like, that actually got me out of my contract, and it turned into a shoot. This one I'm on the fence on too, just because you always have the light works, right? Where Dusty Rhodes, ironically his dad, loses and he's suspended for a year, but then suddenly Dusty Rhodes' best friend, the Midnight Rider, shows up. And it's clearly Dusty Rhodes is in a mask, but it's the burden of proof is on the heels to prove it. And it's good because it's something different and it's angles. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's going to do more of a deep cut Midnight Rider angle because he has to do something different because he's told the people, I'm not turning heel. But then you also could be the guys like, I realize I can make history here if I do get out of my contract, I go to WWE and I show up on their television, and now I'm the ultimate babyface on their TV because they're like, holy shit, Cody came from AEW and he's here. But then if he doesn't sign a deal with them and then he goes back to AEW, now he's even more of a heel than ever, so he gets monster heat too. But then we also have to factor in Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon doesn't care about any of this stuff. This is all fantasy booking. This is the people the next day that are struggling after wondering what the freak happened to Book of Boba Fett because the fantasy booking was better than the reality booking. As much as we want Cody to go win a WWE title run, I was talking to Mike last night, he's more likely to end up with a 24/7 title run, and then that would be a complete flop.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think the WWE crowd would be receptive to him showing up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think like the casual fans are still going to remember him, I think, because they got plenty of footage on here to introduce who he is. And if he came out as Stardust, that's even more of a slam dunk to come out. But I think he's going to come out as Cody. But there was a small version of this that happened back in the day when Matt Hardy got fired at the same time Edge and Lita were having that affair. And the internet was still in its infancy, and then Matt was working the forums, if you will, about how he got screwed. And then it was enough where Vince actually signed him, and he came back. And when he showed up, it was like it was definitely a BFD back then. So I think they can if there's somebody who doesn't have their head up their ass there, they can get this. Vince is not going to get it. It's going to be on somebody else to get this.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what the reception is. I'm not 100% certain that he would get a good reception. I feel like we live in the the expanding Wrestleverse era right now, and everybody's really interesting, and I feel like it's bigger than ever since the rock and roll 80s. But it's also very divided.
Yeah,
folks are really, Team AEW or Team WWE, So I wonder if right off the bat the crowd would want him to be heel.
It's possible. It is possible. I mean, unless they're just the excitement of something new finally happening on that show, it's got to be enough because it's just like it's so so generico, man. So generico that I think that immediate pop, I don't think they're going to boo like you think. I think there might be I don't even think on the internet, right? So now we're talking, there's a difference. There's the people who show up to those WWE shows, and then there's their fans on the internet that talk about it. Those are two different set of fans. Like, honestly, I was thinking, wow, there's going to be no way that there's going to be that many people at the Royal Rumble. And they were. But for the most part, these are people who are watching. Vince is a product of his own success. He doesn't care about ratings. People are showing up. I'll admit, I have it set, but I watch out of habit. So a lot of those casuals, if he came out, he's going to get it. I think he's going to get an immediate positive reaction, but is it going to last? Where is that going to take him in 6 months? He's going to have to put it in his clause that he has some kind of creative control, or else it'll get out of control really fast.
I think if he comes out, he would get a positive reception immediately if he immediately comes out and buries AEW and starts talking like, I had to come back to the real number one wrestling company in the world or something like that. And I feel like the crowd might love that for him bashing the company that they've grown to hate.
It's possible, but again, I don't think the haters are at the show. I think the haters are online. I think the online internet wrestling community that are pro WWE will like that. But do you remember the pop that Matt and Jeff Hardy got at WrestleMania with no build-up?
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't think, I mean, I love Cody's work, but I don't think on his best day he got as over as Matt and Jeff did.
Yeah, and the thing is, they were hot on the internet at the time too.
Yeah.
Right? So they had already, folks were expecting him to show up somewhere.
So people know that Cody basically was an EVP and he helped found this company. So I think it is going to be, it's going to be, the forbidden door is going to turn into a forbidden fruit, and they're going to realize they're seeing something that this is pulling the curtain back a little bit, and they're going to see that, and I think there's going to be an air of excitement that happens because of that. My issue is I don't think that the immediate pop is going to be there. What's going to be the long-lasting pop? What's going to keep Cody relevant after a while? Like JJ said, 6 months, Stardust is chasing the 24/7 title. And again, this is all just assuming that it's a work. If it's a shoot, he's not going to go. He'll go out there, and he'll do the best to make the best of what he got. But if he doesn't get a title run, then he's done anyway. But if it's a shoot, he's not going to say a word about AEW. And the rumor is, and I wore this shirt, the rumor is that he's going to be working, if he does come back, he's working Stone Cold at WrestleMania, which, if that's happening, then he is a heel. Then he is coming out as Team AEW, whether he represents or then he is going to be Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, where I'm not that Cody, but I'm Cody, and I'm going to be the outsider because you work in WrestleMania against Stone Cold in Texas, you're a heel.
Yeah.
There's no way around it, and that's the rumor. That's not the booking that I would want to do. I mean, I think Cody's more special than they're giving him credit for, but Vince always seen him as just a mid-card guy, and that's where Cody left to begin with.
No, I mean, I just worry that, is Vince McMahon vindictive?
Yes.
Huh?
The answer is yes.
So I worry that maybe they'll take him, give him a dumb gimmick, and then just keep him away from anything,
Well, that's why he has to get creative control, or else that will I mean, it happened to his dad. You think his dad came out and said, I got this idea. I'm going to eat pig's feet pizza. I'm going to talk like Dusty Rhodes, and I'm going to wear polka dots, and it's going to be great. No, he was given that because that's what Vince likes to do. Dusty Rhodes was just so special that he got polka dots over. The whole idea was to be vindictive. I mean, look, I'm a fan of WWE for many years, even if I don't agree with the product's doing currently. But I mean, when he bought WCW and he came out in the crowd, it was not a working interview when he said, what should I do with WCW? Would you want to see me bring in Sting? Would you want to see me bring in Ric Flair? Or maybe I'll just buy it and put it on the shelf. and not even use it, because Vince's MO for all these years has always been these other companies don't exist. He only acknowledged some of those other companies when his company was struggling and he realized that he needed the attention. But when Vince has money in his pocket and food in his belly, he's going to be vindictive as hell.
So what does Vince need right now from Cody? Because like they've got more money than they've ever had, more TV. They're at the top. They've never been bigger, more profitable. So what can Cody give WWE? Well, like how can he benefit them?
The only thing that he can give them that they don't have is better, and believe it or not, put them in a better light on the internet itself. He's not going to offer them anything else. He's going to.
You think?
That's all he can really offer.
Because I'm thinking, who can they put him with immediately to make it interesting? And I'm not sure.
If they were doing it right, they would put him with Roman Reigns, and they would make it AEW versus WWE. But they've proven that'll never happen. Everybody had these dream matches of WCW versus WWE, and it ended up we got fake WWE versus WCW, and it was like Buff Bagwell versus like Booker T, and it was like a WCW match, and then that Invasion pay-per-view, and then they screwed that up. So I don't have high hopes for it, but if they were doing it right, he would be wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania before Roman needs to be wrestling Brock Lesnar again. Their money match is Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, not Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, as we've seen numerous WrestleManias. But they're not going to. They've already proven that they're not going to do that. But that's who I would put him with. I'd put him with John Cena and bring back Cena for a WrestleMania spot, because he's WWE guy, and then he would be a heel before I would put him with anybody else. Stone Cold would not be high on my list, because Stone Cold should go with somebody that's. Cody doesn't need it. Cody's more over than people are giving him credit for starting this company. And one thing that, we're saying all the stuff that Vince does wrong. One thing that Vince does respect is when people have that entrepreneurial spirit and they go try shit, and he realizes it's fine, it's just business. When you come back, we'll come back and we'll talk. So I think there's going to be a part of Vince that does respect Cody for leaving and creating what he did. So he has that going for him.
So would Vince be willing to give him some booking power? Like, would he let him? What do you think? Like, would he come in just to help as Cody Rhodes himself, or would he want to bring some of that entrepreneurial spirit over to NXT and see what you can do with that?
That would be a good deal if he doesn't. If he's still living in Jacksonville, he's not too far from Orlando. And like JJ said, instead of just getting jobbed out to Roman, maybe rebuilding NXT 2.0 and making it a version of AEW. If they fully gave him the reins, they could do that. That would not be a bad thing. And because we got to remember, if this is a shoot, Cody just had a baby.
Yeah.
He could be wanting to have a lighter schedule.
Yep.
And nothing's going to be a lighter schedule than working there for NXT if you're not going to be doing that much traveling if you stay in Florida.
And here's another thing. I guess if he goes to WWE, I doubt TNT would still want his reality show, right?
Rose to the top. No, yeah, because that's an AEW show. Now, the big show is not an AEW show, so he is a guest host. But you're right that the reality show might be over.
But would they still want to keep him on that? I mean, he'd still be sort of working for their wrestling competition. They could easily replace him. Put CM Punk on that show,
I think they would replace him. I think so.
I just think if he's leaving AEW, he's obviously given up those two gigs as well, I think. So whatever he's got lined up has to be lucrative, I imagine,
Yeah. Well, obviously, because the scuttlebutt on the interwebs is that they couldn't come to terms with money. And he just basically, Tony Khan probably just shelled out a lot of cash for Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. Now, would you put Cody Rhodes on the same level as Bryan Danielson and CM Punk?
I mean, no, probably definitely not in recognition and probably drawing power.
Yeah.
But for the folks that have been when I watched, did you get the first Double or Nothing pay-per-view? That first one?
No.
Okay, I remember I got it.
Was that when he wrestled his brother Dustin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
he got that. I do remember it though.
I got that pay-per-view, and just the brother against brother match was so great, and the promo at the end, and I just feel like he was such a huge part of the beginning of that. His matches were great. I don't know what my point is, but like, I don't know that.
Well, we're saying, is he on the level of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson?
Right, he's not on the level. He's just not. He has more of a not nostalgia, but it's sort of like you had to sort of like be there when all that kind of occurred, and he became sort of one of the top guys at AEW.
Yeah.
And so he has a part of the history, he has a spot on the history, but you don't instantly know him. Or folks don't know him.
No. Like you say, it's going to be a deep cut for the casual WWE person that shows up. You're going to have to hope they remember him from his previous run or Stardust, or you're going to have to hope that they do scour the internet or the magazines. This is no different than somebody coming in from a different territory. And back in the day when you didn't have cable TV and you were running regional TV, you had to cut vignettes and slowly introduce these people so you got used to seeing them. WWE stopped doing that. Even after the territories, they were doing that. People were hyped for Fandango when he showed up because everybody saw that dancing. Razor Ramon got over before he stepped in the ring because of all the vignettes of setting that up. They're not going to necessarily have the benefit of doing that unless they just basically say Cody Rhodes is coming back and they show some of the stuff he did. But how much notable stuff did he do in WWE that's going to be worth showing? I thought he was great as Stardust. That was some of the best work he did. But like when he was going as like the Phantom of the Opera or the unpretty guy, or then he was he was with Ted DiBiase Jr. and Randy Orton when they were Legacy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it wasn't like big. He did his best work after he left WWE, and they can't rely on that now. But he's going to come in, and he's going to work the stick, and he's going to be great on the mic, and he's going to win the people over or push the people away quick if they give him a fair shake. But the question is, they might not give him that fair shake, and he's going to have to work fast.
Will they let him write his own promos?
They have to. If they write the promos.
How long will they let him do that for?
That's the thing. If he's not writing his own promos, he's dead. He's a dead man walking. And he's going to be back, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, and he's going to want to leave again quickly. We know you can't go back to the same company because eventually the same reasons you leave are going to reappear. So his contract is going to have to be less even about the money and more about the creative control if this is really going to work. And again, we're still leaning towards the side that this is a shoot. This could be a work, and he could go travel the indies. When CM Punk won that title and said he was going to take it away, and he won it in Chicago, and he blew the kiss to John Cena and everybody was shocked. Vince McMahon was willing to do business back then. Think about this. Bret Hart, he wouldn't let Bret Hart leave with the title under contract, and it turned into the most famous screw job of all time. But then when CM Punk wasn't under contract, he let CM Punk get the title and with the threat of leaving. But I guess at the time there was really nowhere for him to go. But the whole idea was like, yeah, sure, go work, take the title, go work the indies. If this is somewhat of a work like that, Cody could go to New Japan, or he can go work some of these other spots if it's going to be a work, and then he can eventually come back. But again, right now it's all speculation. It's leaning more like it's going to be a shoot. But here's the thing, in 2022, with the way the internet is, if this is going to be a worked shoot, he's not going to be on TV as we speak. I don't know if we should be checking the trends to see
I'll pull up the Twitter bird.
Yeah, he shouldn't be on TV at all right now. If this is even if this is a work shoot, he should not be on there. Yeah, I'm just checking now.
Yeah, it's on but another thing is too, I feel like we would know. I feel like the internet spoils everything now. You know, we would be hearing maybe some kind of confirmation from someone. It's like, yeah, WWE source that he's definitely going.
If he signed.
Yeah.
But if it's a work and if they're doing it right now, the only person that knows it should be Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, and that's it. That's how you do it. I mean, look at Scott Hall. Scott Hall to this day still thinks the Montreal Screwjob was a work. And he's like, look how they cut the camera. Why would Vince let somebody cut the camera of him getting spit on? And he thinks that only if you're going to try to get kayfabe back and you're going to work the internet, there's got to be less than 5 people that know this is happening, because that sick person is going to leak it.
I hope it's a work.
I hope it's a work too.
Number one, I don't think Cody going to WWE is not going to create the same ripple effect as Daniel Bryanson and CM Punk going to AEW.
No.
It's just not. And I don't know. I feel like no matter, even if it goes as good as it could possibly go over there for him, it won't last. You know?
No.
And he'll be back. Yeah, like you said, he'll be doing the 24/7 title in 6 months or something like that, or doing backstage vignettes with whoever. And I just feel like that's not a great follow up to the last few years, you know, that of building his legacy. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. That they won't be able he proved his point. I quit this company because I'm better than this. He went to AEW and he proved he's better than this. I don't care if he's having a quasi heel turn right now. That's just the way the cookie crumbled, but that people still love to hate him. He didn't have that channel changing heat. And honestly, that was working people into wanting to see it more, and then he was stringing them along the whole entire time. But you're right, because I brought up the Matt and Jeff Hardy pop at WrestleMania. How long did that last before they just got back to the same shit, right? All of a sudden, he just came out as regular Matt, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm going to try the delete thing, and all they changed is one. Well, you're not broken, you're woken. And that didn't work, and then they got with Bray, and it was still working because it was just that hot, but eventually it just died out. And then Jeff just went back to the same stuff Jeff that was always doing. You know, he's wrestling in bars with Sheamus and getting his title runs, but it wasn't. Those guys were way better than that when they had full creative control. And man, Hulk Hogan nailed it. It was just like, as much as heat as he gets, he realized that not only do I need the money, I need the creative control. And if Cody doesn't come up with some kind of creative control in a company where you are basically performing for one person, you know, and that one person is Vince McMahon, and is he going to be willing to give up that creative control? Would Vince do that? Because Vince is not surrounded by people that are challenging him or giving him the hard-hitting questions, or like, are you sure that's a good idea? He's surrounded by people that, I don't want to call them yes men, but he's surrounded by people that are getting paid really well to agree with them, and they're not about to lose that meal ticket. Where Cody was anti that, and he's like, you know what, I'm getting paid really well here, but this is not what I want to do. And then I remember the list that he put on here of all the people he wanted to work. And he accomplished that. That was mission accomplished. And we got AEW out of it. There'd be no AEW if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes. And I think a lot of people who are booing him and are tired of seeing him are lost on that fact. But that's a 100% fact. That's not fiction. That's a fact. There is no AEW without Cody Rhodes saying, I'll take that bet, Dave Meltzer. I'll get 10,000 people in that building.
Yeah, and it would just be a bad sequel to a good movie, you know?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I'd much rather I wish he would have just kept stringing the crowd along of just like, I'm not going to turn heel, and then he was getting good heat from that. He was getting that good John Cena heat, and that's fine, because honestly, I'm probably of the minority, that if I had my druthers, what would I want to see from Cody Rhodes. I want to see a heel Cody Rhodes with the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. That's what I want to see. And I say that as not only a former performer, but I say that as a fan. That would be my number one choice. A heel Cody Rhodes that says, you're right, screw it, I turn heel. And he does something heel, takes the belt from Adam Page.
Super heel.
Oh, man.
Becomes the baddest heel.
How badass would that be? All right, fine. You want me to be a heel? This is what heels do. Nutshot. Adam Page, who people wanted the title on for so long, loses it to Cody Rhodes. Like, well, this is what you wanted? Now you got it. Oh, man, that would be great. That's what I want to see. Heel Cody is money. JJ said it.
Yeah. Why walk away from that?
No.
They all have to know it would have been good.
Unless, like I said, now, well, let's play the other side of it. What if this is a shoot, but WWE is not on the table? What if the whole WrestleMania thing is just going to be a one-off, and it was just like, I'm here for one night only to get that? Dude, we are 3 days away from the Saudi Prince. Does the Saudi Prince have Twitter? Because if the Saudi Prince has Twitter, and he basically uses Vince McMahon's wrestlers as his action figures, what if he says, "Oh, I was on the tweet machine and I saw this Cody Rhodes. Can you get him here?" And Cody Rhodes gets the biggest payday of his entire career by wrestling in Jeddah and shows up in Elimination Chamber or something like that. And then that's all he's there for, just to take one payday. Because they're all coming back for that giant payday. Goldberg comes back just for the Saudi Arabia check.
Who in Saudi Arabia is such a huge Goldberg fan?
I know somebody.
Is there just a huge Goldberg fan community going on over there? Is that like maybe they could only get like a couple of years of WCW to see WCW tapes from the late 90s?
I guess.
They have one or two seasons, and they just remember Goldberg's run. They keep bringing him back.
He's back for every time.
He's always got. He's clownish at this point. It's like he's always got weird botches. He like knocks himself out, almost kills people.
Is he working Roman again? Is that who he's working?
He's working. I think it's Bobby Lashley, right? No.
I don't even know, dude.
Who is he working?
It is Roman. It is Roman.
Is it Roman?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Unfortunately, it's one of the few shows that I don't know. And it's going to be on noon at Saturday. I was just like, I'll watch on Twitter. But if they are a fan of Cody Rhodes and they read the internet, what if they can get him there for a shot? What if he just comes in for a 3-shot deal? This is a new world. Maybe he doesn't want to stay there full time. Maybe he just shows up for Elimination Chamber, whatever that lame pay-per-view they have before WrestleMania, and then WrestleMania, and that's it. And then he's gone. And now,
you think Vince would work that? I mean, give him a short-term contract, Cena style?
Yeah, I think he would. Because why not? Because it's just like at this point, Vince is getting paid no matter what. And I don't think Vince would be the one that would come up with that idea. But I think if Cody presented it, I think he'd be okay with it. But the problem is that only ends one way. And that ends with Cody's shoulders on the mat for 1, 2, 3. Whether he's working Roman, Stone Cold, or R-Truth, it only ends one way. With his mat, 1, 2, 3, pin me, pay me, and he's done. Then Vince would do it. Because there's no way Vince is going to put over another company. In no way, shape, or form. He's just not going to do it. He's never going to do it. I'm even surprised the NWO is the only name, and Goldberg are the only two entities that were created in wrestling that he was okay with using. I think he begrudgingly let people like AJ Styles and CM Punk keep their name. But as far as like these big those big creations and actually to highlight them, he just never does it. Because he let them keep their name, but he still only gave them opportunity. But like NWO and Goldberg, he brought in like you already should have known who they were.
Yeah, and now he's going to squeeze every last bit of juice you can out of Goldberg and the rest of them.
Man, There's again, this is just fantasy booking, and look, as a Star Wars fan, we know how dangerous that is. As a Marvel fan, we know how dangerous that is because fantasy booking is very easy to paint yourself into a corner and just lead to like massive disappointment because you can see it's just like, oh, cool. Maybe Cody does a run-in in Jeddah and now he somehow inserts himself into the Elimination Chamber match and now he's got the belt. And like an AEW guy says, aha, I got the belt now and I'm only here for a handshake deal. I only have to survive past WrestleMania with this belt and then I'm out of here. And then John Cena's music hits or Stone Cold's The Glass breaks and it's like, okay, I'll take that bet. I'll fight you at WrestleMania. And if you get to keep that belt, you can go back to that little company you created with the belt, but you got to get past me. That's money. Boom. But what are the odds of that happening? Never. Mephisto is going to show up on WandaVision Season 2 before that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he'd have to go back to working with the giant staff of writers. Yeah. I mean,
well, I mean, CM Punk. Yeah,
system.
I mean, Punk, I'm sure, is reminding him before. I mean, Punk had to tear up a lot of the scripts they gave him, and he forced himself to go off script.
If he's leaving for a short-term payday, that makes sense.
Yeah,
do that because if he is doing that, then maybe he can come back to AEW and finally do his heel run. Soon.
Man, that's what we all want to see. I'm sorry, I guess I'm a traditionalist. He founded the company. He earned a world title run. I don't care what anyone says. And I don't care how short it is. I mean, Dusty had 3 runs, and some of them were like a month long, but he's the only one in that of the crew that helped found that company that didn't have that. Well, I guess he had the TNT title, but I mean, that was him trying to get the title over more than flying the flag of the company. But people just got tired. Did you get tired of him?
Get tired of who?
Cody.
No, I didn't get tired of him. I just I thought he was playing a long-term heel turn, and I was fine with it. Especially the last few weeks, I thought his stuff was interesting. You want to watch his match to see what's going to happen. You know?
Yeah.
You were. Yeah. I mean, you were. How do you like you say the wrestling was working? You know what I mean? You didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
You weren't able to predict it. And in that instance, I bought it.
He set himself on fire. I mean,
he did.
He set himself on fire, and people are like, meh. Like, I posted, I don't care. Like, that ladder match promo had nothing to do with the Sami match. It was very, like you said, it was weird, and now we see that it was happening, and it was a little bit of a shoot. But it was his promos are so good, and I posted that promo, and somebody just replied with a puke face, and I'm like, wait, did you listen to the promo? Like, did you get it? Did you hear it? Like, how do you reply and not say, you can say, I just, but I mean, to me, that's reserved for, I always use him as an example as the Baron Corbin's. I mean, he had that channel changing heat for a long time, and they just kept cramming it down your throat, and it just didn't work. But he wasn't really doing anything. He's a solid performer, and he wasn't doing anything to prove otherwise. Like, wow, he's really so good on the mic. Until he became hard times Corbin, and I thought that was great. And now he's happy Corbin, and like they gave him something, and it's like, okay,
that was his best gimmick. Why they end that when he was sad Corbin on the internet?
Oh, that was so good. And he had like a GoFundMe. And it's like that was some of the best stuff that he had, and I'm okay with how he is now. At least I feel like, okay, he found a groove. And sometimes gimmicks don't work, and you don't find your groove. But I mean, Cody just didn't have that. I mean, you knew who he was. I mean, he's Cody Rhodes. He's the grandson of a plumber. You know his lineage. You know he can work on the mic. You know he can work in the ring. So I was always confused by he was so tired. People got just so tired of him. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, Mike's on there. Heath Slater too. I got kids. I mean, that shirt got over. I got kids. I mean, that stuff was working. But sometimes you have these guys, and Rock did a tweet a long time ago, and he basically was saying for the people who are working there and the wrestlers, like sometimes you have to say no and you have to fight for what you believe and have to fight to get your character over, and you have to say no. But you're in a position where you have to say no and you're worried about you're going to get fired and there's going to be no paycheck. And this was back at a time where there was no AEW to go to. If you're going to go, you were going to have to grind on the indies to make that money, and you're going to make that living, but you got to say no. I mean, there's so much stuff that people like Baron Corbin should be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. No, that's stupid. How many times do these writers hear, no, that's stupid?
Whoever is forced to wear Vince's king gimmick that year, he's got to have a king. Always there has to be a king involved.
Yeah, there's always going to be that king of the ring. But they don't. I mean, they should have been treating that as like some kind of title, and they don't. But I don't know. Cody just, I don't think he warranted a lot of the real heat he was getting. I'm totally fine with the heat. I mean, if you want to dig really deep, we got Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania because people were tired of Bob Backlund's, oh, this guy looks like Howdy Doody. Like you heard on our podcast talking about MSG memories, where even Andrew remembered him. Like, yeah, he was like a gym coach. Like you got tired, but it was good heat. And what happened was Bob Backlund didn't understand it at the time, but then when he came back, he became one of the best heels they had. Because, again, it was organic. People got tired of him, and that's what was happening with Cody. People were getting good tired of him. Like, I don't want to see you come out with 20 people again. It's like, okay, we know this is the company. Okay, you got this hot wife. Okay, we know you're the EVP. But that was still good heat, because then you're like, okay, then give me the cowboy shit that's going to stop that. You know, give me the Stone Cold that's going to go against the machine that is Cody Rhodes. And that's where the money would be. And I think that would help elevate him. And I think in the long run, he would be fulfilled creatively and make more money in AEW if he just strung us along, even if it was for another whole year of string us along until you become a Heat. I didn't think it was possible before, but John Cena is the only one that did it. And I think Cody could have done it too. Roman tried it. Oh, Gato's going to fall.
What?
Roman tried it. And they just got tired of fighting it, and then he came back, and then he became a heel, and now he's a great heel. Now he's their number one heel. But that tweener of just being able to string people along, and like they're singing the song How You Suck, and John Cena pulled it off. I think Cody could have pulled that off. And then, man, when he finally would have turned, it would have been big, and especially if he would have turned and won the belt. And then he'd be like, you know what? Why am I respecting this rule that I lost to freaking MJF, who everybody hates now, that I can never fight for the title again? Guess what? I'm a heel, and I'm the EVP. I take that rule back. And now I'm a heel, and now you guys have to deal with it. This is my company.
Well, he can come back and say, like, he used to be the EVP.
Yeah.
And, like, since he's gone, the company's turned to shit.
Yeah, there's so much he can do.
You know?
Because you're right, the best thing that they can do with him in WWE, they're not going to do. And Mike, I gave you credit because you're the one that said it. It's just like he's going to end up chasing for the 24/7 belt. And they're not going to do what they really should do, which is let him take the belt and then drop it to somebody at WrestleMania. He takes the belt at the Chamber. He has that roadblock or whatever that pay-per-view is called, some kind of schmaz there, and then he drops the belt in Mania. Or you even make it to where he doesn't drop the belt in Mania, and then he's like, I'll be on Raw tomorrow to say my goodbyes, and then I don't know who has the briefcase, or you have somebody who's just like, no, you're not walking out the door. I challenge. Like, there's so much he can do, but they're just, again, they're not going to do that. So hopefully he's looking out for himself and more about the creative control than the cash. Because Tony Khan still had been paying him pretty well. I mean, he's probably not making CM Punk money or Bryan money.
Vince can pay him fuck off money to just do nothing, really.
He can.
Just to be a heel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he needs to. I don't know. I think he just really needs to be looking out for himself on this, and it's hard because I'm sure there's going to be stupid amount of money that are going to be on the line here.
Will he do an indie run before, or will he just going to jump right into WWE?
If this is a work, then yeah, he'll do an indie run. I think he'll do an indie. If it's not, if it's a shoot, I don't think he's not going to do an indie run. Like, I think maybe possibly he would go to New Japan, you know, because like Jericho did that. He tested the water as the Painmaker, you know, in New Japan, and then jumped. So maybe, but as far as like working for a U.S. company, I don't think he would. Unless he wants to help get a company over, because it would be big. But like AJ had a similar worked leaving, and he won the title, the Impact title, and then it worked into a shoot. And I want to say he showed up at an indie with the belt, but I feel like as money as that is, nobody ever really does it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone does it, so they're not going to do it right, so he's better off staying. Or he has an iron, and look, he broke the rules before, he would be the one that would break the rules again. Because the money match that they really have, they can't have, right? Because he broke the throne with the sledgehammer. So the money match is, if you really wanted, okay, before you're leaving with the title, you're going to get Triple H and you're going to have them face off. But obviously, for health reasons, that can't happen. So you have Cena, or you have Roman, who would be the current company guy. That's really it. He can't really, I mean, for him to work Brock or Bobby any of those guys, that really won't sell.
Yeah, I don't see where he fits in. I don't see where he gets in there.
There's it's a limited amount of people. I guess you can go back to, I mean, Randy Orton's a WWE guy, and they have Legacy together with Legacy, so they could do that. But are people clamoring to see that? Now, maybe people will be clamoring to see it if Cody embraced the heel side and took the title, and then Randy Orton's he's like, you're not leaving here with that title. Again, but invasion angles are so great for fantasy booking, but in reality, no one ever books them right.
It wouldn't make sense though for him to go right to WWE and then become a heel if he didn't want to be a heel at AEW. It's like,
Right.
Is it just the money? Like, did you get paid more? I don't know.
Well, was that not wanting to be a heel a work or a shoot? That's what I
heard.
don't know.
I've heard it's a shoot because of. I guess this is how he spun it, was because of all the charity and outreach work that they do, him and Brandy.
Oh, really?
So he didn't want to work heel because of that.
So, I mean, to reel it back to, if this is a work, they can do the charity outreach if he comes back with a Stardust character honoring the Midnight Rider. And then he wears a hood. And then he gets the mega heat that he wants, because everyone's going to be like, does that work? Would that work in this day and age? Like the Dirty Yellow Dog when Barry Windham came back, or Midnight Rider. Like, there was a couple of spoof ones when Hogan came back as Mr. America, or Andre the Giant came back as Giant Machine. But
I mean, would WWE even be interested in that?
No, I'm talking about AEW.
Oh, AEW.
So he's like, okay, I'm leaving. Brandy's leaving, but now all of a sudden we get these two people wearing a hood that are clearly them, but not them. Does that work in 2022?
I don't think that works in 2022 because there's too much chatter about it on the internet. People will be talking about it constantly.
Yeah.
And it'll just poke holes in it over and over and over. I don't think you can pull that off. And I don't think folks will like it. I don't think folks will find that entertaining. It seems goofy.
Yeah, it definitely came from a goofier time. But what if they do it into a shoot? What if he, devil's advocate, what if he bought the rights to Jushin Thunder Liger and he comes out as something in that vein of Jushin Thunder Liger 2 or something, but he bought somebody that's already established, something that's clearly like a bodysuit, and they really try to work the people. So not like the wink wink Midnight Rider, everyone knows it's Dusty Rhodes. What if they really try to win kayfabe back and work the people, and then somebody just shows up? It can't be random, because then they're going to know it's him. But what if they just try to establish that? Is that possible?
I don't know. I feel like crowds and fans are way too savvy these days.
Yeah.
I just don't see that being, like, it'd have to be a reinvention of that type of angle. You know, they'd have to spin it a different way and give it a more modern feel.
Yeah. And then the other option is that this is a shoot, and he's going to retire because he teased the retirement before.
He's been, this whole thing feels like it's been playing out since December.
Remember when he
took his boots off in the ring?
Boots off, right?
Which was weird. That's when all his weird promos kind of started, and you were getting the sense that he might be leaving.
Yeah. So this could be a shoot. This could be. It's like, is he making enough money? Because, okay, now this is a shoot.
Just had a kid.
He just had a kid. He gets to retire. He gets to stay on the big show, right? So he's got a paycheck. He's making money still. We don't know what his deal is. Like, did he get some kind of severance package? Does he get some kind of like back end options? Does he keep the merch? Does he get a piece of everybody's merch money as one of the founders? Like, does he have a stream of revenue from AEW that's behind the scenes that no one's ever going to see? And between that and the reality show Roads to the Top season 2, where life after wrestling, he makes money doing that. He gets to keep the big show. He's got some, potentially got some other back end channel where he's making cash. What happens then? Do people miss him?
I mean, I think folks miss him now. Folks are in shock, and especially those who were sort of like waiting for that big heel turn. There's a demographic of them on Twitter. They're shattered.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to get to see Cody smoking a fat cigar and being a heel.
Yeah. Well, Mike said it here and Mike, I mean, it's good perspective. He's like, it's the first time he's really cared about Cody since the early AEW pay-per-view. So what went wrong? What went wrong? Like, I don't know if that's channel changing heat or real. What went wrong that all of a sudden people got tired of Cody Rhodes, even though his ring work was great? He sets himself on fire and he has fantastic promos. What went wrong? He could, like Mike, call James Gunn and get a role. I mean, James Gunn is 2 for 2, getting pro wrestlers highlighted on their acting strength.
Oh yeah, he's the best booker for pro wrestlers in movies.
Because I feel like he must have shot a movie role, because when he did the fake retirement gimmick or whatever, or when he left, and remember he came back with dark hair, and then it was light again. But he dyed it. He didn't dye it and just like, I want it to be black. Now I changed my mind. I want it to go blonde. He had to do it for some kind of role, right?
I have no idea. I feel like we would have heard of that.
But
you can't keep any secrets these days.
But with like COVID, it's just like, did he shoot something that never dropped? I mean, look at Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt's going to have a fantastic career, even if he just wants to do nothing but make movies on Shudder. He'll still have a career outside of wrestling. Is that what Cody's looking for? Does he not? Does he need a break from the ring?
Yeah.
Does he want to just? Did he look at CM Punk, who took 7 years off, and came back, and got paid probably just as well? I'm assuming they paid him well to come back. Did he say, you know what? Did he like? I don't even know how old Cody is. What if Cody said, you know what, Punk? That is a good idea. I'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's see. Let's look up Cody Rhodes' age, because I feel like to do that, you're giving up a lot of your good working years.
And that's what Punk said, right? That was the only thing he rolled the dice on, that he could have been working these great matches with these guys, and he's working those great matches now. But we lost a lot of Punk's prime years. But I mean, he was beaten up, battered and bruised, and the way he looked at it is just like, if I would have stayed, I would have died.
He's 36.
Cody?
Cody's 36.
Okay.
Brandy's 38.
He is at that. So this is the peak of his career. He's at that age where a lot of wrestlers say, by this time, I'd like to maybe, wrestlers on the top, that maybe I want to take it easy. So he probably, I don't know if he can do. We say that as, how old is Bill Goldberg?
I have no idea.
Bill Goldberg's in his 50s. Sting is still working. Yeah. You think, I mean, does Cody have anything left to prove in the ring physically that, screw it, I'll wait 7 years and I'll come back and when I'm 42, and I'll work street fights and cinematic matches and tag team matches only, and get paid just as well.
Don't know. But I mean, if that last match with Sammy Guevara, the ladder match, is his last AEW match, that's a pretty awesome one to end on.
He proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can go. He won the bet. Not only did he win the Meltzer bet of getting 10,000 people selling out that arena, he won the bet that I can go and I can start something big that can rival WWE. He did that. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, I'm not pro AEW I'm pro wrestling. I want it to succeed. I mean, I will call out when a company's doing better than another one, but I'm never cheering for the boys to be at it. I never lost that. I want the boys to make money. And I mean that, and I include the women in there when I say I want the boys to make money. I never want any company to go out of business. I wish AWA was still around. And I say that truthfully, with all my heart, that I never would root for a wrestling company to go out of business. Even when WWE is the drizzling shits right now, which they are, never in a million years want to see them go out of business.
No,
ever.
we just want it to be better.
Just want it to be better. And all Cody did was prove it right that I can start a company that can rival WWE. And whether you like it, whether you like AEW or don't like AEW, they are currently rivaling WWE. And not only the fans prove that with how much the ratings are good. They're selling house shows. They're doing everything that the boys are being able to make money, and they're getting names. And that's, if you think if it was the shits, Chris Jericho's going to come over. You think you're going to get Moxley to come over, Punk. They're doing something special, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Cody. So I don't know why people got maybe I again, and I told you this when I go to a wrestling match, I have a lot of trouble going to a wrestling match because I have a lot of trouble not only keeping my personal feelings in check of never wanting to have left that ring, but I just can't suspend my belief enough because I know when something can be better, because I've seen people get in fist fights over wearing the same trunks and being passionate so much about an idea that they want to go out there. So I can't suspend my belief, and when something's not working, I'm going to have to say it's not working. But that's why I have a lot of trouble with that. And maybe he's reaching some kind of creative, like I need to walk away and take a break, because I did it myself, and the difference is I never got as big as Cody, and I never went back. And it's still, to this day, 25 years later, it can still bring tears to my eyes if I'm in the right frame of mind, and it still guts me. I mean, when you're in this business and you understand it and you feel it, you can't just, when you're phoning it in, you can tell when somebody's phoning it in, and it hurts you, personally hurts you, when you're the one that's actually putting your body on the line. And they call you brother because I'm like, I trust you not to drop me on my freaking head, and I trust that we're going to do business together and make money, because that's what the business was about, having fun and making money. And if neither one of those things are happening for him right now, maybe that's why he needs to just step away.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yes.
So
Amen,
what's
brother.
what's the under over here? If you had to gauge your percentage, what's the percentage that this is a shoot and that it's a work?
Oh man.
doesn't need to be an exact science. What do you think?
I'm leaning towards that it's a shoot, in as that it's a work shoot, that Cody is going into business for himself. And I mean that in a respectful way, not going into a business for himself that he doesn't care about anywhere else, that he's realizing that he's in a very unique position that he can play both sides of the fence. So I think it's a work shoot which I guess would mean a work shoot is a shoot, and I think it's a shoot.
Yeah. I think it's a shoot as well. I don't think it's work. I feel like we would know by now and something would have leaked out. But it could be something new. Like, it could be he created something new by creating AEW. This could open up something different. What if WWE is willing to do a short-term contract and he forges another path through there and then out and back and to bigger than ever to return. I don't know. Maybe that's his grand plan or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
But like Mike said, it's the most interesting. I love it. I mean, there's that part of me that is just like, this is great. And, you know, you get a little bit nervous that Lucy's going to pull the ball away as Charlie's going for the kick. But it's great because it's creating so much buzz and people are wondering and people are interested in both products. And that's good. That's good for pro wrestling as a whole. So I'm all for it. If it's a shoot or for it to work, keep doing it. And just knowing how Dusty felt about the business, there's no way that Cody's ever going to do anything that's not best for the business. Again, I just say it. He set himself on fire when people were booing him and were very nonchalant to him, and he still was willing to set himself on fire. That's somebody that you want to put your money on, that they're doing the right thing, and he sees an angle, and he's going to work it. You know, he calls it in the ring. And I think right now, if you sat down and you talked to Cody, I bet you that there's part of him that, what are you doing next? I bet you Cody doesn't even know, because guess what? I don't like that long-term storytelling when you have a script. I'm going to call it in the ring. And that's something his dad would do.